I tell my team this all the time because it's scary to do big drastic changes and it's scary to do them quickly when you don't know every single outcome, but you don't want to let perfect be the enemy of good, and we measure everything we're doing. So we know we're going to make a big bet and then we're going to refine and pivot accordingly based off results.
Hi, I'm Sam Allen, the CEO of Iterable, and I'm here with Minou Clark, the CEO of RealSelf. Minou, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. For those who are unfamiliar with RealSelf, can you talk about what it is and what you do?
Yeah, we're essentially your fairy hot mother. We power the beauty journey for millions of people across the country, whether you're just curious about getting a cosmetic treatment or you're ready to book something with a doctor. We are your education resource. We're your community where you can leave reviews and discover reviews, browse before and after photos. We're really just here to kind of shed a light on a space that has needed transparency and authenticity for a really long time. And luckily, the culture shift is embracing it more and more. And so that's where we're sitting now.
Wonderful. I've loved the term fairy hot mother.
I love it too.
Did you come up with that?
I did. And I honestly wonder if it was maybe at like last year's Iterable event at a dinner with the team. I feel like we were riffing a lot and I was new in my seat and it just kind of started to stick.
It's great. Now you're relatively new in your role. Talk a little bit about your background, because I think it's really interesting in how you got you into the job you're in today.
Yeah, my background is all media and entertainment. I have led growth strategy at a lot of the media publishers based in New York City, everywhere from like BuzzFeed, HuffPost, Pop Sugar, People Magazine, Entertainment Weekly. Most recently, I was running digital for Paris Hilton and her media company and helping her kind of build and scale that side of her business. And I think even though I never knew I would work in aesthetics, it lends itself beautifully to it because I was on the culture side and very much the client side, being with a lot of celebrities. And those are the tastemakers who really shape a lot of those trends. So it's been hugely informative in RealSelf's transformation.
With that different type of background, coming into an aesthetics company, and one where you've talked about you have a lot of doctors, you know, who aren't generally as aggressive about change. What's been the advantage of your perspective in driving a lot of the change that you've done? Because you've done some amazing things in the short time that you've been there.
Yeah, it's tough. Like my industry is all about before and after transformations and evolution. But when you change the business, my clientele and the doctor space don't always necessarily want change. It's also a very traditionalist space and a very male-dominated space, ironically, even though a lot of the clientele are women. Most of the plastic surgeons in the US are men. Most of the med aesthetics brands are led by men. So I think being a female leader for RealSelf and their first ever in 20 years was already a big change. And once I was able to kind of show that representing the consumer on the leadership side helped bridge a gap and was actually a huge advantage, I think there was more of an appetite to continue the change with our rebrand and our redesign of our site. So we moved really quickly. We didn't want to hesitate. Right. We knew our facelift was long overdue, and the results so far have actually been incredible.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with it. I think moving with boldness like you did was impressive. And I think, you know, for those who hesitate, they're just going to bring them along with you. They're going to see the results.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, I tell my team this all the time because it's scary to do big drastic changes and it's scary to do them quickly when you don't know every single outcome, but you don't want to let perfect be the enemy of good, and we measure everything we're doing. So we know we're going to make a big bet and then we're going to refine and pivot accordingly based off results.
Yeah. You mentioned that aesthetics is becoming more out in the open now. What do you think that you can do to help drive that adoption curve?
Yeah, I mean, we love the culture shift in aesthetics. We love how social media is kind of democratizing information. Things can go viral on TikTok and on Instagram, or a celebrity could share something really personal about a treatment or a procedure, and suddenly there's a huge jump in search for that exact term on our site. Where I think RealSelf has an important role to play is we have the authority and the biggest network of board certified doctors and surgeons across the country. So while there may be a lot of discourse on social or in celebrity tabloids, we can bring that layer of education and authority with a network bigger than anyone else. Like we do not have a competitor that has the same sort of authority and muscle, and so we can kind of layer that piece into the entertaining side of it.
So part of that's community. Community is super critical, and it's one thing the technology industry has learned over the last 20 years is building a community of your users is super critical. How do you think about that? Because you have an interesting world. You have obviously physicians, you have patients, you have people who just want to looky-loos. Like, how do you think about building that community and how that adds value to your brand?
I think community is at the heart and soul of RealSelf. It's what we were founded to inform and empower. And when we rebranded, we felt it was really important to talk to our community as their kind of dialed-in bestie. Like, we're your hype woman with receipts. We're talking to you in a more personable way, a more digestible way. It's high stakes when you're embarking on a beauty journey, whether it's something minimally invasive or something a lot more invasive and drastic and surgical and permanent. And so we want to kind of distill that information and destigmatize it and kind of celebrate you and empower you and educate you, but in a way that doesn't feel preachy. And then on the other side of the same coin, we then have our entire provider community, and we need to kind of speak to them in a way where they understand the data and the results and the value of what RealSelf is helping power for their business, for their expertise, for their authority in the space. So we wear like two different hats in a way, because we have this B2B community that's growing and powers a lot of our business, and then we have all the scale of the consumer. So it's fun to kind of juggle those things and be their connective tissue to each other.
Right. Can I ask you a question we didn't put on the card?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that 90% or your community is female, which makes a lot of sense to me. How do you crack open the male part of the market? Because I personally know there are men that are interested in treatments, but they still have this stigma. So how do you think about doing that?
Totally. And there's so much innovation happening for treatments that lend themselves beautifully to the male consumer. I think for us, it's really about storytelling authentically and creating content and lived experiences that really speak to that audience. A lot of the reason we scaled our female audience isn't just that women love cosmetic treatments and love being educated about their beauty journeys, but it's because we have all the lived experiences of women taking to realself.com, creating a profile, sharing the before and after photos, sharing like intimate, vulnerable details about their recovery journey. We need to find a way to still replicate that for our male audience. I find you connect with a brand or you connect with a doctor or a procedure when you see someone who looks and feels like you, who's been in your shoes and is telling you all about that experience.
Right.
So I think we need to kind of make space strategically to milk and foster that
wonderful
kind of community.
I know I could probably use a new head of hair. So
I got you.
All right. Okay, last thing. So you've done a lot of bold things in your first year in the job, and that's wonderful. You probably want to take a breath, but what is next for RealSelf?
We want to launch booking. RealSelf for 20 years has been a beautiful sort of like top of funnel, middle of funnel driver. We're great at amplifying scale. We're great at educating. We have an extremely high intent educated audience. That's obvious even just in our iterable audience. We have like 80% open rates right now on average, which is crazy. I've never seen that in my career. But we're not bringing them all the way down to the, conversion.
Last mile, yeah.
And I think booking doesn't necessarily lend itself to a new head of hair. You're going to go to a consultation. You're going to want to like dabble with a lot of different places for that type of treatment. It's not like ordering a burrito or booking a dinner reservation.
Right.
But the minimally invasive stuff, the more repeat maintenance procedures, those lend themselves beautifully to booking. And it's such a disjointed experience when you're looking to book laser hair removal, then you're looking to book somewhere else for your teeth whitening, somewhere else for your Botox, somewhere else for your filler, because you have your specialists in all these different places, and they all have these disjointed booking experiences. So what's the resi of your beauty journey?
Right.
And I think there's something there. Adoption will be complicated and proving it out will be complicated, but
you've got
that's what's on the horizon.
And you've got the connections with the doctors that can really help
Exactly.
with that.
And most of the board certified plastic surgeons, they're also launching med spas and minimally invasive practices alongside their more surgical treatment centers. So there is this beautiful synergy, and we know the med spa space is growing rapidly. So how do we kind of curate quality? Because there's definitely a lot out there, but if we could be like your Michelin guide to quality and truly be your fairy hot mother or like your beauty journey Sherpa, I think booking is the key.
Wonderful. Okay, that was Minou Clark, CEO of RealSelf.com. Check out their new branded website. Minou, thank you for being here. It was wonderful having you.
It was a blast.
All right,
Thanks.
Thanks.